beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the most beautiful, iconic, esoteric, otherworldly, fantastic tarot deck, which is the Thoth tarot. Yeah, because I realized that it's been a while since I last spoke about this deck. Well, maybe not really, maybe it wasn't really a while. However, you know that I love speaking about this deck. I love having it on my channel, I love reading with it, I love researching it, I love studying it. This deck is basically my home, as I lovingly refer to it, which is like so crazy because I did not expect this deck to be that one bit when I first got it. However, I decided that today I would come here and give you a few tips that might help you on your learning journey, on your Thoth learning journey, if you will. So I'm just going to give you a few mindsets that might help you with learning of this beautiful system, if you will. Now, a little side note or disclaimer or whatever, I'm still learning Thoth tarot myself because I'm gonna tell you a little secret, okay? The beautiful thing about the Thoth tarot is that once you get into it, there is like no end. Like, you just keep learning because there is just so much to it, you know? There are just so many things that you can dive into and learn and study and research. Like, it's kind of like never ending, and it's fantastic and beautiful, and it's just so magical. So anyways, yeah, with that being said, I actually have something else to add before we like jump into it, because you know I'm a little bit extra, right? I'm a little extra, and therefore I actually brought this deck to this video not to just show it to you, because I believe that if you clicked on this video, you're probably familiar a little bit with the Thoth tarot, you know what it is, you know what it looks like. It's just a regular Thoth. Well, this is not the regular version, this is the Spanish version I got in Santiago de Chile. However, my point is, I brought this deck to this video because I really love conversing with my decks. So what we are gonna do by the end of the video, so after I give you my personal tips that might help you with your Thoth learning, we're actually going to ask the Thoth itself, what does it have to say about learning it. You know what I mean? I love doing that, by the way. I really love asking my decks questions like that. I actually did that recently with my Marseille deck in a short reel, whatever it was that I posted. So I decided I might do the same thing with the Thoth deck in this video. So stay with me until the end of the video to see what the Thoth deck has to say about itself. Okay, anyway, with that being said, I'm hoping you're having a lovely morning, evening, whatever. Make yourself comfortable, grab yourself something delicious to drink. I've just realized now that I did not get myself anything, but never mind. You go quickly, come back with something lovely, some hot chocolate, coffee, tea, a glass of water, and let's get into the video, okay? I keep hitting my mic. Anyway, okay, so let's begin with the point number one. My advice, my very first advice would be, let the Thoth tarot be its own thing instead of trying to force some other system on it, especially Rider-Waite-Smith. Now, I have been thinking about this a lot because I myself come from the RWS background. So as I mentioned a couple of times on the channel, I learned tarot not with the Rider-Waite-Smith. I learned it with another pip deck. However, as I was learning tarot for the first time, I was obviously researching the Rider-Waite-Smith system because that was the one that was the most available. It was the one that I came across the most easily, and therefore my way of reading tarot was very heavily influenced by the Rider-Waite-Smith. Now, what I want to say is that the Thoth tarot, it's not like it's completely different from the Rider-Waite-Smith, because both of these decks, we have to acknowledge that both of these decks come from people, from creators, occultists, whatever we want to call them, from the Golden Dawn tradition, and they were coming at it from sort of a similar perspective, because what I have read, members of the mystical order of the Golden Dawn, I believe it's the order called, they were told to create their own tarot decks, however based on a previously existing deck, sort of, and all of them took another, take on it, if you will. What I'm trying to get too is that both of these decks, right, Rider-Waite-Smith and the Thoth Tarot, are similar in a way. They have similar structure. However, there are differences. And I think that acknowledging that there are differences and that Thoth Tarot is kind of like its own thing in a way might actually help you learn it better. And why am I saying that? Because when I first started learning Thoth Tarot, it happened to me, and it probably happens to a lot of people, that your mind, your brain kind of wants to project what you already know about tarot onto this new deck. And sometimes when some anomaly or some nuance arrives, your brain might be like rejecting that a little bit, you know what I mean? And that might make it a little bit more difficult for you to get comfortable with reading with the Thoth and also just like learning it in general, you know? So my advice here is to try to turn that mindset off, like shut it down completely. Try to imagine, just picture that the Thoth Tarot is the first tarot deck you're holding in your hands. And when you're gonna be like researching, you know, like resources, books, etc., try to come at it with really open mind. And when you catch yourself like projecting the RWS on it, try to stop yourself there and be like, yeah, no, hold on, like let me get into this again, let me read that section again or whatever. Let me not fight it internally. You know what I mean? Yeah, that can really help. I promise that if you like put your mind sort of like on blank and allow it to be its own thing, it's going to speak to you more clearly and it's going to click better. In my experience anyway, because at first I really was forcing RWS on it, and then at some point I decided like, okay, I'm just gonna stop doing that because this is the Thoth, it's not RWS, right? So yeah, and it actually did help me to like progress a little bit better, and all of a sudden the readings became a little bit more effortless in a way. So yeah, I would totally begin with that one. The point number 2 would be give astrology and the Tree of Life a chance. So I want to clarify something here. Some people believe that astrology and tarot are two things, two disciplines or whatever we want to call them, that should be completely separate, right? There are people who believe that mixing them together is not ideal, if you will. However, the Thoth deck, as I mentioned, is like really heavily based on astrology, because every card actually displays the planetary symbols as well as zodiac signs, symbols, and the meaning of the cards and the general energy of the cards is very heavily revolving around that. Again, Rider-Waite-Smith does the similar thing, but Arthur Edward Waite tried to make it a little bit more understandable for people without really like pushing the astrological symbolism into it, in my opinion. However, Crowley did not care about it at all. He just pushed the astrology right into it, and it might seem confusing to some people at first. However, if you allow the astrology to flow into the tarot and just like fusion with it, if you will, it's actually going to enrich your mind so much. Like at first I was like really, you know, confused, feeling a little bit weird in terms of astrology and tarot, because yeah, it can feel like these are two separate disciplines, but they are not really. And once you give it a chance, once you actually start seeing the connections between the astrology and tarot, the cards suddenly start making much more sense. Because again, speaking from experience here, I basically wanted to give you my experience and what helped me, so all of these points are gonna be like speaking from experience. But yeah, it's true, I'm just being honest with you here. So once you allow astrology to really link with the tarot, it's gonna start making sense at some point. I promise at some point it will. Maybe not right off the bat, maybe not right from the start, because as I said, Thoth Tarot is very layered. It's very it's very complicated in that way. Like you have to, well, you don't have to do anything, but it's good to, you know, look at it from different perspectives and with different layers on top of each other, and astrology is one of them. And it's, instead of fearing it and being like, oh, this is like really something confusing, like I don't want to know about it. Allow the astrology to speak through tarot, and you will see how eventually the cards really start clicking. Because when it started happening to me, when I started reading the tarot using the astrology knowledge, it was just mind-blowing for me. Like, I don't know, and I would never look at the cards the same way now that I started reading them in that way, and I'm just super happy about it. So I thought I might just tell you that, like, do not resist do not resist the astrology. That sounds so funny. Do not resist fusioning tarot and astrology. And I realized I have not even spoken about the Tree of Life. I just mentioned it real quick. Okay, Tree of Life, for those of you who do not know, is a part of Kabbalah, which is this entire mystic tradition. I'm lacking correct words to speak about the dead one, so I will not get into that very much in this video. Maybe someday in the future when I have enough knowledge about it, or rather when I have enough vocabulary to like actually speak on that particular topic. However, what I'm gonna tell you here is that Tree of Life can be something confusing as well, like even more than astrology. In my opinion. However, again, do not resist it very much. Maybe don't push it, like, you don't have to read the Thoth tarot with like everything on top of everything. You don't have to like know completely everything to read it, right? However, if you like microdose, if you microdose Kabbalah, okay, I'm explaining myself in a very interesting way today. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that when you allow yourself to like read about the Tree of Life, and you are gonna, you know, be hearing about it here and there, watching some stuff, reading some stuff, just being somehow in contact with it, sooner or later it will also start clicking. Just like the astrology, the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah is going to start clicking as well, and the cards will just gain this new like dimension almost. So yeah, just do not close yourself to it, you know, just be open to that. Go slowly, sure, just bits and pieces. You do not have to like know everything immediately, as I mentioned, but do not reject it, you know. This is what I'm trying to say, like, do not reject it like, oh no, these things are just too complicated, I do not want to know about them. Don't do that. Just try, you know, just take bits and pieces of knowledge from over here, over there, and in no time you will realize that you suddenly know more than you thought you might know. So yeah, that would be the point number 2. And also it's super fun to learn about these things. I mean, if you are watching this video, I believe you are pretty much into these things anyway, right? So you're gonna have a lot of fun learning these. Moving on to the point number 3, so I would suggest using the Book of Thoth, which is the book written by Aleister Crowley, who is the creator of the Thoth tarot, alongside some other book on Thoth tarot that might be like a little bit more understandable, if you will. Because, okay, hear me out. I said several times that I really do recommend people reading the Book of Thoth, because even though it's like super confusing, because if you like, once you start learning Aleister Crowley's work, you are gonna get a headache at some point, because you're gonna be like, what are you even talking about, my dude? So yeah, I'm saying it can be a little bit confusing, like his language styling and the words of his choice, and also he's referring so many of his other works in the Book of Thoth, and if you haven't read those works, it's gonna be like confusing as hell. However, I still do recommend reading that book, because still it's like the original piece of writing that was written for the Thoth tarot. So I think there is nothing like better than that. In terms of, it's really good to have that book and to be able to refer to that book and go through that book, right? However, it is not a book that you can just like read cover to cover. I mean, you can, but you will probably have to reread it a couple of times, because it's, as I said, it's a little bit confusing, but you can also just work with it alongside as you use the deck. However, that book is not really gonna give you like a practical information. If that's something you are looking for, that book is going to give you the background almost, and the esotericism and symbolism of the Thoth tarot, which is fantastic, and I actually love it for it very much. However, if you get some other book, something that's a little bit more, you know, meant to help you understand this this tarot deck, it might really make your studies much easier. Now, a part of Book of Thoth, I have Duquette's Understanding of Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, and that book is amazing. I can recommend it 100%. I have read that one cover to cover and I enjoyed it really a lot. Now, there are some people who are not really like happy with that book because it is also not really gonna give you like much of a like practical advice. It's also speaking mostly about the structure of the Thoth Tarot. It goes a lot into astrology. It goes a lot into stuff like explaining you how the Thoth Tarot was like made, almost like, or that's at least the vibe I got from the book. However, I really did enjoy it like a lot, and it helped me in understanding this deck a lot. So if you have the Book of Thoth and you have the some other work, for example the one that I just mentioned, it is going to be way easier for you to understand the book, because you are going to be, for example, reading one cover to cover and going into the other one for like other pieces of information, you know, and you're going to be like complementing them, and it's just gonna make it all easier, you know, because if you only get the Book of Thoth, as I said, you might gonna just end up being really confused. And on the other hand, if you only get some other book written by someone else, like after Crowley, like for example this Duquette's book, yeah, that's great, and he's quoting Crowley a lot there. However, you're gonna be lacking that original writing, like the original vibe, you know. So yeah, this is why I recommend working with at least 2 books at the same time, because it's gonna make a difference, I promise. The point number 4 is going to be something a little bit maybe weirdly sounding for some people, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I really recommend people actively working with the keywords that Crowley gave to the cards of the minor arcana in this case, right? Why am I saying that? Because I have realized that there are people who literally completely disregard the keywords that Crowley gave to the cards, because they find them like limiting, and I can see that, like I can see where they're coming from. Putting just one word onto the card is a little bit insane, right? Because, well, if you are like into tarot, if you've been reading tarot for a while, you should probably know that there is no such a thing as one meaning of the card. Like, this card means love, right? It doesn't really work like that now, does it? However, when you're first getting into Thoth Tarot, you are gonna see that, as I mentioned in the like very first point, there are some differences in Thoth compared to other decks, especially Rider-Waite-Smith. I'm going to be referring to the deck because it's just the most known deck and the majority of people work with that one, right? So I would also simply suggest do not reject the keywords that Crowley gave them. Like, yeah, do not make these keywords like the entirety of these cards, right? It's not like I do not want to think of these cards as just their keyword. However, do not ignore the keyword entirely. Like, try to work with it. Try to see and understand why would Crowley call the card that word. And actually, Duquette, in that book that I was mentioning, Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, he is kinda giving you a few examples of that, like how Crowley came up with these words for the specific cards, and it has to do a lot with the Tree of Life and astrology, so it's all interconnected. It's beautiful, mind-blowing and intricate and complicated, but beautiful nonetheless. Yeah, so if you actually think about the keywords that Crowley gave the cards of Minor Arcana, it's actually going to make you connect to the cards more. So instead of just reading the Thoth Tarot and being like, I don't know, you pull the Nine of Swords, and the Nine of Swords is called Cruelty, for example. By the way, I forgot I have a deck here, I could just pick a card, but anyway, doesn't matter. So let's say you pull the Cruelty card, right, the Nine of Swords. Instead of you just going, okay, this is cruelty, so I'm just thinking about cruelty and about what does that mean, I want you to think about what the Nine of Swords is about in thought. I want you to look at the Tree of Life part, I want you to look at the astrology part, and I want you to reflect on the word, on the keyword itself, and try to see the connections between the card and the keyword, because there is a connection, and once you understand that connection, it's gonna make a lot of sense, you know. Now, a little disclaimer. I'm not saying that I can see connections of all the minor arcana like completely clearly yet, because there are some cards that are still like you just look at them and you go like, what the hell, you know? And if you don't know what cards I mean, I'm going to leave the video. It was a hashtag that Lennon Smith made about Alice in Wonderland and Thoth tarot, and there is this one question about cards that are kind of like elusive. So I recommend you that video. I'm going to link it down below. You can go ahead and watch it afterwards, and you can see what cards are like pain in the ass for me. But yeah, the point is, trying to understand it that way, trying to really work with these keywords can really be can really make a difference, you know, instead of just going, oh, okay, the nine of swords, like, sure, that's like nightmares, blah blah. Because yeah, also that would be like the RWS projection, but you know what I'm saying at this point. I hope I'm explaining myself well. We are not in the Mercury retrograde yet, but yeah. And the final fifth point, before I don't want to keep you here all evening, is going to be, please do not keep yourself from reading with the Thoth tarot, even if you don't have all the knowledge just yet. Because some people are like, well, I have the Thoth tarot, however, I can't really read it because I don't know about Tree of Life, I do not know astrology very much, I'm really confused about these areas. It doesn't matter, okay? The Thoth tarot, after all, is a tarot deck, and it is here for you. Like, you can read with it, you can gain experimental knowledge, which is actually something super important, because the tarot, in my opinion, is not only the theoretical knowledge, I hope that's the correct word, it is also the experimental knowledge. So what does that mean? As you go through your life, you live your life, right? And you're pulling cards, either like in the morning, in the evening, for specific questions, doing spreads, blah, blah, blah. You're gonna see how these cards reflect in your life, and they're gonna give you a lot of insight about themselves, like generally, as you live your life and use the deck, the cards are going to present themselves to you, if you will. And of course, if you put the astrology studies, the Tree of Life studies, the keyword studies into it, the books that you are reading, plus your experimental knowledge, it's gonna make it all fall into place somehow, and it's so beautiful when that happens. So I just really want to encourage you to just use the deck, okay? Just use the deck. It doesn't matter that you haven't read the entire book of Thoth just yet. It doesn't matter that you do not know about Kabbalah. It doesn't matter that you do not know much about astrology just yet, okay? Use the deck. Just use the deck. Just read the cards and do not be afraid of it, okay? This is like the bonus point, but I believe that if you're here watching this video, you're probably not afraid of the Thoth tarot, are you? And if you are, let me tell you, do not be afraid of it. It's not going to ruin your life. It's going to enrich your life. It's going to make your life much more amazing, because the Thoth tarot is just so full of knowledge and wisdom, and yeah, but that's another rabbit hole, and we are going to talk about that in another video, because, you know, I'm going to be here again venting and rambling about Thoth tarot because it's just fantastic and I'm in love with it. So yeah, but definitely just read the cards, okay? Just read the damn deck. It's beautiful and you're gonna love it, I promise. All right, lovely people. I'm sorry if the frame changed a little bit. I'm not sure if it did, but the camera overheated actually, so I had to wait a little bit before we jump into the the most fun part of the video, hopefully, where we are going to ask the Thoth tarot what it thinks about the learning approach, what can help us learn it a little bit, what can help you learn it a little bit. Yeah, so I had to wait till the camera cooled down, and I was just riffle shuffling the deck for fun a little bit, because I realized I really love riffle shuffling. Like lately, it's just giving me so much pleasure. Am I weird? Do you love riffle shuffling as well? Let me know down below in the comments, please. Please tell me if you love the good riffle shuffle. Anyway, so with that being said, let's proceed to the last part of the video, where we are going to ask the Thoth what it thinks, what advice can it provide for us. So let me clear the deck real quick, because I always do that. Let me charge it with my energy real quick. I always do that with my decks before any type of reading. So yeah, so sadly you are not gonna be able to see me riffle shuffle it, but I'm still gonna do that, so enjoy the little ASMR, if you will. Ah, so amazing. Okay, okay, so let's see what can be helpful to learn this beautiful system? What can make learning Thoth easier? What does Thoth think about it? Okay, we have Ace of Discs. Is it focusing? Yeah. We have Ace of Discs. Okay, so this is basically telling me that it is good to take like one step at a time. Pretty much what I was speaking about, it kind of refers back to that in my opinion. Like, do not be too overwhelmed with like everything at once. You do not have to know everything at once. What you do need to do, however, is to make that step, to take that step. Excuse me, English isn't my first language, by the way, I think you realized. But anyway, it's important to take that first step, right? So to get into it. This is the suit of discs. So we are in the material realm. What I'm trying to say is that discs is basically our tangible world. So it's like the real action. So what I'm reading here is that the Thoth is advising us to actually just read with it. Just grab the deck, read with it, go step by step, you know, do not take too much on your plate like at once, because it might be like a lot, but do not let that prevent you from actually experiencing the deck and reading with the deck, because it can teach you like a lot. And also, I really love seeing this card as like a seed or something. Let me just show it to you real quick again. So it almost tells me that if you start learning with it, it's going to grow eventually. Like the practice or your knowledge on it is going to grow. Maybe slowly, because also we are in the suit of discs, which is like the most slowly moving element, if you will. So maybe your growth with this deck and the growth of your knowledge on this deck might not be like super fast. It might take a while, because as I was saying, the Kabbalah, the astrology, these are things that you do not learn just like from one night to another, on one day to another, I believe you say. It takes time, right? So maybe like also be prepared to spend some actual time learning this deck, because this deck is something that might be accompanying you for years, you know, and you're always gonna learn something new. It's always gonna become a little bit easier. You're always gonna learn some new layer, something new regarding the symbolism. So it's going to like grow progressively, slowly, if you give it that foundation, if you just step into it, and if you start building almost that foundation. This is another thing that's coming to my head right now. So like the foundation. Yeah, so like just start somewhere, you know, start somewhere, but start with practical things. So also, yeah, another thing that just came to my head. Do not just read books, do not just study astrology, do not just study Kabbalah, but actually practice. This is also kind of telling me that, like, again, it's kind of all ties back to it being the discs suit. So it speaks about the actual practice, you know, so do not just read, but practice. And I'm really loving it, because I feel like this card literally ties all of the points I was speaking about together. So yeah, that was a really lovely advice. I loved it. So just practice with your deck, give it a chance, study with it, have patience with it. Another thing, have patience with it, because the discs suit is also about patience, because again, Earth is something, you know, that requires time and patience, etc. So there is a lot of potential in Thoth for you, and there is a lot of potential in this deck giving you a lot, like enriching your life. I will never shut up about that, because that deck is just amazing, and it really is gonna change your life in a way. However, you really do need to be patient with it and put the work in as well. So yeah, this is the advice that the Thoth Tarot itself gave us. Okay, and I'm just messing with the cards now, so let me put them down. Okay, so that would be it from me. I realized I forgot to put my ring on. Excuse me, it's kind of late. Anyway, so that would be it from me. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a like, it would mean a lot to me. Also consider subscribing, it would make me really happy. If you want to watch other videos, Thoth Tarot related or some others, please, I totally invite you to browse through my channel and have some fun with my videos, or if you want to like do something and just put me on the background and just hear my chaotic rambles, I would be more than happy to accompany you. And yeah, so I'm really hoping to see you again on the channel. I hope you're staying kind and enjoy the rest of your weekend, the rest of your day, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye bye!